Good day, everyone. I am Eduardo III Corrios Mulavola, and together with my co-presenter, Tricia Miorias, Kaajani Champagne Ubatay, Kate Ashlyn Paulo, and Mills Jean Uhaw, we're going to discuss to you the part 2 of the module, which is creative speech production and its subtopics, which are understanding the methods of speech delivery, learning the arts of argumentation and debate, and lastly, identifying the speeches for special occasion. But before we proceed to the main discussion, let us first discuss the main objectives of this lesson. At the end of the lesson, the students should be able to watch any of the following videos of the world champions of public speaking. The links are provided in the last slide of the presentation. Differentiate among the four methods of speech delivery. Understand when to use each of these methods. Identify the speaking competencies and appreciate the importance of the four methods of speech delivery. According to Stephen Lucas in 2011, the author of the book called The Art of the Public Speaking, good delivery means that we are capable and able to present our topic in a clear, coherent, and interesting way. In addition to this, he also says that good delivery conveys the speaker's idea clearly, interestingly, and without distracting the audience. Most audiences prefers delivery that combines a certain degree of formality with the best attributes of good conversation, directness, spontaneity, animation, vocal and facial expressiveness, and a lively sense of communication. There are four types or four methods of speech delivery in which we can choose in a given situation, and those are manuscript speaking, memorized speaking, impromptu speaking, and lastly, extemporaneous speaking. I know we are already familiar with these methods of speech delivery as it has already been taught to us in our secondary level. So basically, this is more likely a recap. But as far as we know, we are now a college student, it is important to know how to use these methods in delivery because we use this in our daily basis. So now let's talk about the first method of speech delivery, which is the manuscript speaking. Manuscript speaking is the word-for-word iteration of a written message. In a manuscript speech, the speaker maintains his or her attention on the printed page except when using visual aids. So basically, manuscript speaking is reading from a manuscript with the exact repetition of original words. Examples of a manuscript speaking are speech given by a congressman, a report read out by a chief engineer, a speech read during an international conference, and a president's or a prime minister's address. So basically, manuscript speaking is reading from a manuscript with the exact repetition of original words. And when delivering a speech, delivering a manuscript in public often occurs with different method. One that is usually geared up toward creating a striking connection between what the reader or the speaker is saying and what the audience is able to hear or understand. And out of the methods of speech delivery, manuscript speech is that which is usually adapted in a formal setting. And to know the guidelines and characteristic of the manuscript speech. In the next slide, we're going to talk about it. So, what is the characteristics or what are the characteristics and guidelines of a manuscript speech? A manuscript speech or speaking is speaking with advanced preparation. It is planned and rehearsed. It is reading aloud the written message, and it is rarely done well enough to be interesting. Now let's talk about its guideline, the most important of them all. In doing a manuscript speaking or speech, type your manuscript in a short, easy to scan phrases, use appropriate non-verbal messages, do not read the speech too quickly, vary the rhythm, inflection, and space out your delivery. And lastly, use gestures and movement to add non-verbal interest. So, why is manuscript speaking is important? Well, manuscript prevents us from saying anything and we would not say in careful consideration of our topic. It does assure that everything we say gives the impression that we are calm, collected, and a thinker. And now let's talk about memorized speaking. Memorized speaking is reciting a written message that the speaker has committed to memory. Examples of memorized speaking or speech are actors, of course, as they recite from memory whenever they perform from a script in a stage play, television program, or a movie. So, basically, memorized speech delivery is when a speaker recites a written message that they have committed to internal memory with no written prompts. And this can be advantageous to the speaker as it allows them to maintain eye contact to the audience. Not being restrained by notes or visual prompts allow the speaker more freedom to walk around the stage or in a classroom to the audience, as this can produce a more engaging and memorable experience as it can make the speaker seem more lively. The advantage of memorization is that it enables the speaker to maintain eye contact with the audience throughout the speech. Being free of the notes means that we can move freely around the stage and use our hands to make gestures, and if our speech uses presentation aids, this freedom is even more of an advantage. And when it comes to delivery speeches, memorization can be useful when the message needs to be exact and the speaker doesn't want to be confined by notes. The advantage to memorization is that it enables the speaker again to make eye contact. However, memorization can be tricky. First, if we lose our place and start trying to use ad-lib, the contrast in the style of our delivery will alert the audience that something is up, and it will be extremely difficult to find our place and keep going. And for the characteristics of the memorized speaking, it is speaking with advanced preparation, it is planned and rehearsed speech, reciting a written message word for word from memory. And now let's talk about its guideline. The guidelines for memorized speakings are: do not deliver your memorized speech too rapidly, avoid patterns of vocal inflections that make the presentation sound recited, use gestures and movements to add interest and emphasis to your message. And now let's talk about impromptu speaking. Impromptu speaking is a speech that a person delivers without predetermination or preparation. The speaker is most commonly provided with their topic in a form of quotation, but the topic may also be presented as an object, proverb, one-word abstract, or one of the many alternative possibilities. Examples of impromptu speaking are job interviews, meetings, saying hello to an acquaintance, and introducing yourself to the classroom. Oh no, in a classroom. So basically, impromptu speaking or speech is that it is a speech that is not prepared ahead of time. We can experience this in any given situation. But I think the good thing about impromptu speaking is that it's an advantageous position as we can get to choose the topics that we want to talk about. We can enhance the quality of our speech by using personal anecdotes and real-life examples. At the same time, impromptu speaking means not being well prepared. Collecting our thoughts may be time-consuming if we don't have knowledge about the topic. And even if we're familiar about the topic, our speech may lack relevant to details. Moreover, if the audience doesn't engage or ask questions, we may miss out on significant content. However, speaking without prior preparation shouldn't be so difficult. There are several strategies that can help us brush up impromptu speaking skills and deal with any situation confidently. And even though it's often unexpected, we can always practice impromptu speaking. It not only helps us to be confident in our delivery, but also it makes the message more meaningful, or the speeches, that because it leaves a sometimes it leaves a long lasting impression to our audience. Now let's talk about the characteristics of an impromptu speaking. Impromptu speaking is speaking without advanced preparation. It is an unrehearsed speech, and it is spoken conversationally. And about its guidelines are: we should consider our audience, we should be brief, we should be organized, draw upon our personal experience and knowledge, use gestures and movements that arise naturally from what we are saying, and we must be aware of the potential impact of our communication. And now let's talk about the fourth method of speech delivery, which is extemporaneous speaking. Extemporaneous speaking is the presentation of a carefully well-planned and rehearsed speech. It is spoken in a conversational manner using brief notes. Examples of extemporaneous speaking are answering a teacher's question, explaining how to complete a specific task, and explaining to your parents you arrive home after curfew. So, basically, extemporaneous speaking is using notes rather than a full manuscript. The extemporaneous speaker can establish and maintain eye contact with the audience and assess how well they are understanding the speech as it progresses. It also allows flexibility as we are working on the strong foundation of an outline. Because extemporaneous speaking is the style used in the great majority of the public speaking situations. It also promotes the likelihood that we, the speaker, will be perceived as knowledgeable and credible. In addition to this, our audience is likely to pay greater attention to the message because it is engaging both verbally and non-verbally. The only disadvantage of these speaking methods is that it requires a great deal of preparation for both verbal and non-verbal components of the speech. Adequate preparations cannot be achieved the day before our schedule to speak. So, why is it important to extemporaneous speaking or extemporaneous delivery? Extemporaneous delivery gives the speech freshness, for it doesn't sound canned or over-rehearsed. Additionally, this flexible form of delivery allows us to make adjustment to our speech in response to nonverbal signals from the audience, signs of confusions, displeasure, curiosity, and even excitement. Now let's talk about its guidelines and characteristics. The characteristics of extemporaneous speaking are: it is speaking with limited preparation, guided by notes or outline, and it is delivered conversationally. But also, out of the methods of the speech delivery, it is the most popular method of delivery, as it is the most preferred by audience. Now let's talk about its guideline. The guidelines for extemporaneous speaking are: use a full content preparation outline when we begin to rehearse our presentation, prepare an abbreviated delivery outline and speaking notes, do not try to memorize your message word per word, and lastly, as we deliver our presentation, adapt it to your audience. And that is all and that concludes my part of the report regarding about lesson 1, understanding the methods of speech delivery. And for the continuation of report, let us welcome my co-presenter, Mills Jin Uhaw. Thank you and God bless.